Hello guys, we are on the third episode now, and we will have another easy problem today on Leetcode. I became a little bit more organized, I hope, and I have opened the problem already. I have created a file where we will solve the problem, and I also have the console opened. I zoomed in everything so you guys can see better. So let's start by reading the problem. Okay, there you go, very organized. Okay, so I'm going to minimize the and I hope I am recording. I will minimize the cam window, and let's read through the problem. Subtract the product and sum of digits of an integer. So we have an integer and they want us to subtract the product of its digits so the sum of its digits from the product of its digits. Given an integer number n, return the difference between the product of its digits and the sum of its digits. Input n equals 234, output 15, and it is 15 because 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, multiplied by 4 is 24, and then 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 9. 24 minus 9 is 15. Okay, so I will move back into Visual Studio, and the first thing to do, we will approach the problem by first going to all the steps that we need and then incorporate all those steps into a function that gets as a parameters a number and returns the difference between the difference of, well, it's even hard to say what they want, but it's the difference between the digits multiply minus the sum of the digits. Wow, it's like really hard to explain. My English is not so good as you can see, but anyway, so we want a constant which is a number, which is the number we will provide, and I will define that as 123. And what we will need each digit of this number to be separate as a separate element, because we will have to add them all together or multiply them as well. So what I want to do is split this number into elements. We do not have a split method for number types, but we have a split method on strings. The split method on string is if we have a string like name and we apply split on it, and splits get as a parameter either nothing, and if we get as a parameter nothing, it will return an array with each element, because it will split everything because you don't give any parameter. So you will get an array with a result of n a m and a. But let's assume, So I can put this in the console so you can see that this is what is happening if you split this like this without with the parameter empty, like that. You will get that. But if this string would be like separated by digits, and then you would put in here separated by dots, and then you would put here a dot, you will get the same result as above, because you're splitting at every dot. But let's say that the dot is not at every other letter. Let's say it's one here and one here. Then you will get an array with the elements NA, M, and A. So it will separate the all the elements that are separated by dots, as you can see here. So we have the split method on strings. We can use that, but we will need you. So remember, this split method is useful in a lot of cases for strings. We want to split the numbers, so we will need to, so we can say const array number equals number. So we want to convert this to a string, and as you can see, Visual Studio is very helpful, and it shows me a few methods that are on number types, and I can choose to string, and I have to put it like it is a function, and then I want to split this with the parameter empty, and that will separate in an array with all its digits. But be careful though, because you will see later in the video, when we put this like this here, if I ask for array number, you can see that you have all the digits separated, but all the digits are still strings. They are not number time, they are still strings. So we will have to change that later in the problem. So now what I want to do is to have the sum of all the product of all of those elements, and the sum of all of those elements. So the way I will do it in this approach, I think I will use reducers, because reducers are pretty nice. You can do a lot of things with them by using the method reduce that we have on arrays. And the reduce function, the reduce method basically reduces an array by using all the elements and reducing them to a single value. And I will show here how we can use it. First, we have to define some reducer functions that we will use in the reduce method, and the way we define them is like this. I'm gonna define a function multiply reducer like this. And this function multiply reducers has as parameters an accumulator and current, which is a current value, accumulator, and it will return, we want it to return accumulator multiplied by current. And then the same we have, I'm gonna copy this, and we can have an add reducer, and have accumulator plus current. So basically this accumulator is like, it will start with a certain value, and when we pass this reducer function to the reduce method, it will start with that value that we provide, and then going through all the elements of the array, all the elements will be current one by one, and they will either be multiplied to the, so when it's on the first like, I will explain what happens. So basically this is those are the functions, and then we need to say const multiplied equals, and we have the array number, which is the array, and we want to reduce this, and first we need to pass the multiply reducer, and then here we pass the value that we want to be the initial value of the accumulator, the initial value of the accumulator. So because it's multiply, we want it to start with 1. If we put 0 every time when it multiplies with a new number, it will still be 0. So we want it to start with 1, and then we want const add equal array number reduce add reducer, and the add reducer we want it to start with 0, so it doesn't, we only want the sum of all the elements without anything added. Okay, and now we want const difference to be multiplied minus, I will put here sum instead, and we want multiply minus sum. Now we have to come back here and remember what I said, the array will be an array of strings, so we want to transform this when they're the current value, we want it to transform it back to an integer, so we can add them or multiply them. And the way we do that, we will do it by using the ParseInt function, and I'm going to refresh this and I will show you how that works. If you have a string that has a number at the beginning of the string, like 1, 2, 3 boats, like that, if we pass that to ParseInt, excuse me, 123 boats, it will return 123, and only because 123 is at the beginning of the string. If we would type ParseInt of boats 123 nice, we will get not a number, because the start of the string is not a number and they only look for the start of the string. So because the elements are just a number, we know that if we use ParseInt, we will get an integer back. So we will go back here and say ParseInt of current, and same here, parse int of current. Okay, and that should be it. So if we copy this all in the console log, and we try it, let's see, difference is 0 because 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 minus 1 added to 2 and added to 3, they are the same. 6 minus 6 is 0. If I put here, I refresh, copy back and put here 2 4 4, and then I try, difference is 22 because 2 multiplied by 4 is 8, multiplied by 4 is 32, and the sum of this is 10, so 32 minus 10, it is 22. Now let's go back in Visual Studio and incorporate this into a function and refactor a little bit so it's shorter. So I want an arrow function called difference product sum, which takes as a parameter number, and here I will copy all of this let me move this back. I will copy this, and instead of having const number, I already have it in the parameter, so I don't need it here. And we can also refactor these functions to arrow functions. So I can say multiply reducer accumulator and current, and I keep moving back the webcam, and because the return in array functions, in arrow functions, because the return is only one return and nothing else happens in the function, we can even skip this and we can just say this is like we return it. So we can say accumulator multiplied with ParseInt current, and I am going to copy this down, and I will say here add, and here add. I can delete these functions now because I don't need them. Then let's separate this, give it a save. The reducer, this should be like this. Okay, can delete this one as well, and we don't need this multiply and then sum. We can just say here, can take this here and put it here, and this here, and put it here, and we can just delete this. Right, so it is like a very small functions, but it does what we need. If I get this, if I save this, even though I have autosave on, but I will keep saving it just to make sure, because I'm paranoid. And I want now to return this difference, so the return of this function will be the difference. Okay, that's it. Let's try it out. Move this here, and I'll put this here. So I have defined the function, and now I can pass it a number. So difference product sum of 19876, and we get 2993, and I'm sure that's right. We will have a smaller number just to make sure, but I'm sure that works properly, of 191, and we get -2, because 1 on 9 is 9, or 9 is 9, 1 plus 9 plus 1 is 11, so 9 minus 11 is -2. So yeah guys, that's it. I hope you guys understood everything that I did here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message and I will reply you back. Thank you, and see you next time.